Hey, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula, and welcome to today's Pokemon Go discussion video. So, I kinda wanted to step back and talk about Niantic's communication lately with the Pokemon Go community. I really feel like ever since they made those lofty promises back when we did the Heroes Niantic movement, they've been really on and off with their communication, which is something that they promised. I kinda wanted to discuss this in today's video, and yeah, really just share my thoughts regarding how Niantic has been performing when it comes to communication. Alright, so with that said, let's roll the intro and get right into it. Alrighty, ever since Pokemon Go was first released, one of the areas that Niantic really struggled with was of course communication. They haven't been exactly that transparent when it came to their game, and when it came to all of the different issues that we've been facing as Pokemon Go players over the years, Niantic has done a terrible job at communicating what they plan to do about those issues. Overall, players have always been really unhappy with Niantic when it comes to communication. There are a lot of things that Niantic could do to alleviate this, but historically, they've just never followed through. One of the notable examples of this would of course be Niantic's response to the Heroes Niantic movement, where they made the promise that they would do a bi-monthly video that they would call a dev diary. These videos would describe some of the upcoming features to Pokemon Go, or they would be ways for Niantic to communicate some of their philosophies behind their design decisions. Overall, they were actually pretty good. And for the most part, a lot of times they addressed specific community concerns. But I really feel like recently they've been kind of falling behind when it comes to the dev diaries, and that is a very negative sign. Specifically, the June dev diary was pushed back to the beginning of July, and I think a lot of players were looking for a dev diary specifically because there was some communication that players were looking for regarding some of the most recent design decisions and some of the issues that have been currently plaguing Pokemon Go. But of course, Niantic did not release a dev diary, nor did they actually communicate regarding any of the community issues. And then when Niantic finally released the dev diary in July, it seemingly did not address any of the problems that the community was voicing during this time period. Now my worry right here is that Niantic is going to fall back to their old ways of not communicating with their players. Sure, they were doing a pretty good job for a little bit of time releasing these dev diaries and specifically addressing community concerns, but it really feels like a lot of that has just started to fade away. Like I said, Niantic has had a terrible history when it comes to communication and listening to feedback. The Pokemon Go community has some phenomenal insight on what would make Pokemon Go a much better game, but it really seems like that kind of feedback always falls on deaf ears when it comes to Niantic. I'm not necessarily saying that Niantic should implement everything that the Pokemon Go community suggests, but they could grab some really good ideas on how to improve the game if they were listening to that feedback. One notable example of this is of course what sparked the Heroes Niantic movement to begin with. Players have been saying that a lot of the pandemic bonuses that Niantic implemented over the past couple of years were actually very beneficial for Pokemon Go as a whole. They made the game feel a lot better, there was a lot of quality of life improvements to them, but Niantic seems to want to roll back on those changes, mainly because they go against what Niantic believes should be the main priority of the game, which according to them is the exploration aspect of Pokemon Go. I think what Niantic needs to do is hire more community managers and invest more into communicating with their community. They can get a lot of great feedback from their players, which basically is the best test case group for this sort of game. Back and forth interaction with a liaison is going to be healthy for the game overall. Because for the longest time now, ever since Liz George left Niantic, there really hasn't been that point person that the community could talk to when it comes to sharing different concerns around Pokemon Go. Recently, we've had the game director of Pokemon Go, Michael Steranka, be more active on social media, but his interactions have been pretty limited. And for the most part, he hasn't done too much aside from sharing the philosophies behind some of their big decisions. And even though he doesn't engage too often with the community, I do like the fact that he is someone who actually plays this game. Believe it or not, I actually engaged in a one-on-one conversation with Michael back in 2017 when they came to Chicago for Pokemon Pokemon Go Fest, and I have to say he does have really good insight into the game, and he actually plays the game pretty hardcore. I mean, he's someone on Niantic's side who actually hits Legend rank in his own personal Pokemon Go account pretty much every season. That is something that should indicate to you that he actually plays this game. But even regardless of that, I still think it's better if they were to have a point person that actually engages with the community who also plays the game like Michael Steranka. Because Michael is the game director for Pokemon Go, so yes, he is kind of like the source, but he's also not meant to be the point person for the Pokemon Go community. He's doing a good job at trying to talk to the community, but he's not really supposed to be there to listen to the community, if you kind of get what I'm saying. So Niantic should invest into community managers, but unfortunately, I don't think they're going to do this for the foreseeable future, and that is of course because recently they did do a bunch of layoffs, and I'm just going to go ahead and assume that community managers are part of those layoffs. So yeah, all in all, I really think Niantic needs to push forward and do a lot more communicating with the Pokemon Go community, no matter what that takes and no matter what that would cost. Because what you're essentially doing is investing in the Pokemon Go community at that point. And because the Pokemon Go community has some great insight into what would make Pokemon Go better, I do think that improving the game in this way would add to the longevity of Pokemon Go, which is, I bet, something that John Hanke is definitely thinking about right now. Now, one final note that I want to end this video on is actually a really important one, and that is that communication is a two-way street. Of course, us as players would like to communicate our concerns and our frustrations with Pokemon Go to the developers of the game, but of course, there is a tendency to be really toxic about it. I really do think that if we want positive change for Pokemon Go, we have to be very constructive when it comes to these sort of critiques and feedback. This is the main reason why we lost Liz George in the first place. Having a whole bunch of players be really toxic towards developers and community managers is going to be counterproductive. If you want improvements in Pokemon Go, you have to go about it in a way that is not toxic. Just simply flaming people and doing death threats and different things like that is not going to make Pokemon Go better. Yes, there are a lot of things that Niantic does that is extremely frustrating for the average player, but for players to go out and voice those concerns in an abhorrent way is not going to actually get those changes that players want. So yeah, if we do end up getting a new community manager in sometime in the foreseeable future, I really do hope the Pokemon Go community engages with that person in the most positive way possible. If we do that, I do think we're going to see positive changes for Pokemon Go, and it's all going to depend on Niantic communicating with us a lot better. But in any case, yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this discussion. Leave your thoughts on everything that I talked about down below. I would love to know your thoughts, and for us to engage in a good conversation, that would be pretty awesome. And yeah, if you ended up enjoying this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, then do consider checking out the links in the description below. Alright, but that's going to be it. I'm Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.